See, while coming for this interview, I saw an interesting thing outside. There was a Audi and a Mercedes as well. Now, an interesting question, a question curiosity out of curiosity came into my mind. While a lot of masters or gurus, they say that you should leave all these things aside, no money, nothing, just get into, probably some people even promote celibacy or something of that sorts, leave everything aside, just meditate and do these things. On the other hand, I found, as I mentioned, two of the vehicles over here. How, first, is there a possibility in this lifetime that we can keep a balance between both those sides?
See, it's a matter of attitude. You can be in the forest and still think about Bollywood. Or you can be in Bollywood and think of Lord in your heart. Which is better?
Yeah.
Or things like this, you go to a church and think of smoking in the church. Or go to a pub, have a drink, smoke, and think of God. Spirituality and materiality, they are not at crossroads. But they need to be integrated. See. I tell you a real life story. I wanted to really become sannyasi as per the principles you have just narrated, having nothing, owning nothing, possessing nothing, right? So I took off one day in the month of June 1976 and visited one of the nearest temple we had near my village on the bank of Narmada River. And Narmada River, there is always a parikramic movement by these Aghori Babas. They are Shiva worshippers. So I sat near the temple, observed them. See. In the evening, when the elderly gentleman, Aghori Baba, came near me and said, "Kya chahte ho, Baba, bete?" मैंने बोला, आप मुझे अपना शिष्य बना लो. I will serve you with all my heart. There were tears. He had wet eyes. And he said, "My son, तू घर चला जा." मेरी उम्र 80 से भी ज़्यादा हो गई है. घर जाने का तो मन करता है, लेकिन कोई पहचानेगा नहीं मुझे. मैंने बड़ी भूल कर दी, ये संन्यास कर लिया. अभी मैं भिखारी हूँ. मेरे लिए ये लोग भिख मांगने जाते हैं, खाना आता है तब खा लेता हूँ. ऐसे मंदिरों में बाहर सो लेता हूँ. ये तेरे लिए नहीं है कि भिखारी बनना है तो आ जाओ. And so I heard him, because there was so much of conviction in his eyes that ghar jao. So my sannyas didn't even last 12 hours. Before the sun set, I reached home.
But we are glad that it lasts, otherwise we wouldn't be having you over here.
So, and my Guruji also says, you see, upward Shastra says that God is omnipresent everywhere. Second thing, God is not lost. Third thing, you must marry. Two sexes are important. If one was enough, God would not have created two. So understand this much and lead a Grihastha Jivan. All the great rishis, including 7 rishis we call Sapta rishis. Tell me even one who was brahmachari, meaning celibate. Brahmacharya has a different meaning altogether, and celibacy has a different meaning. Celibacy means abstaining from sex. Brahmacharya means one who dwells within Brahma. There are two different connotations.
Wow.
One who dwells, one whose mind is always contemplating on the Lord. That's why Janaka is also known as one of the Brahma Rishis, because he, though was a king, was also a rishi. Material life is, I've been a very successful pharmacist in my life. The business that you run, it does not interfere with spirituality. You wake up in the morning, meditate, have breakfast in remembrance of the Lord. You go to work, you, you do your work in the remembrance of the Lord. So, how is it going to interfere? That now you're even able to spiritualize the material world.
Wow.
So, you are integrating something which is very refined into something which is very gross. When you do a transaction, business transaction, it is with a good interest that both will flourish, that I'm not cheating the other. In the process, I'm also not shortchanging myself. It is in the best interest of both. The attitude of kill the other for your survival is wrong. See, that competitiveness should be there, but it should be sporty, like a game. The business should also be taken up like that. See, I'm here so that, the world can thrive. We can become better and better with the scientific researches.
Wow. So basically, being into business plus spirituality, both can be done parallelly.
Definitely.
Since you mentioned about Bollywood a couple of minutes back, a Bollywood star's movie releases, fails miserably, and now that personality starts receiving a lot of hate across social media, across the society, and everything. And this is not in particular with Bollywood celebrities. This is something which I've even seen in the influencer economy. Influencers, as long as they're climbing up, it's fine. The moment they do one small mistake, there would be people who will be bombarding at them, saying nasty things, saying things which are not even related to them, just trying to make out things. Daji, in this case, it's very difficult for that Bollywood star to control his or her mind. And likewise for that particular influencer. Some of them, they go into a wrong path of consuming drugs just to this thing. So when we are staying in 21st century, how is it possible that we don't get affected by the opinions of so many people around us, which are sometimes superficial also, but still, how do we withstand that?
I think the answer is obvious. They all know the answer. That, don't get hyped up when somebody is praising you, because the next moment the negative is also going to come. That is your life. There are many stars, who have fallen. And there are times those fallen stars have risen also, like never before. So we cannot just judge by one failure or two failures. One has to keep continuing what.
But sir, Daji, it's not us, it's the people. And sometimes you must have heard of stories where people actually get into depression these days. I'll give you a small instance. There was one small girl who used to create content on fashion on social media. And then she had some wardrobe malfunctioning. And everybody saw that. And after that, she received so much of hate, so much of embarrassment, that she literally got into depression. Now, let's say if that girl comes to you, what would you suggest that girl?
Ignore it. लोग तो कुछ कहते ही रहेंगे ऐसे. If you are being hyped up because of somebody's praises, don't be so much, because the next negative thing, you will not be able to handle it. So do your best under all circumstances. You see, if something got failed, I mean, what can you do? It was not your fault. And even if it was your fault, you have to rise above it. You see, if you go into depression, it's not going to help anyone. I should not depend on happiness on others. And so is I should not be affected by others' comments also, you see. What sort of a human being we are that we depend on others for our happiness?